1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale again. Hold. Exhale. And hold. All right, good stuff. Hopefully everyone's feeling a little bit more settled. So let's start diving into it. This session is obviously called The Art of Adapting. So it's some Buddhist inspired yoga and meditation. I mean, yoga in the loosest sense of the term, but yoga and guided meditation for embracing change. And I mean, in a year like the one that we've all had, I think we've all sort of had to contemplate this topic a little bit at least, right? This notion of impermanence is something we've all kind of been faced with. If we go back to like the beginning of February, I'm sure none of us really would have expected all the changes that were going to happen, that we were going to have to confront. And we've all sort of been forced to find new ways to adapt to this world that we're in now. And in Buddhism, if you're familiar with the Buddha Dharma and the Four Noble Truths, right? The first one is the fact that everyone is suffering. It's kind of one of those facts of existence, right? We get old, our health changes, we get sick, and eventually, our life is going to come to an end. But the second noble truth is the fact that there is a cause to all of this suffering of ours. It's the fact that we attach, we get fixated on something that is going to change. We get attached to things that are not permanent. And when those things eventually shift, it's hard for us. We get uncomfortable, we feel pain. But the good news is that there is an answer to not suffering, and it all has to do with our relationship to these fluctuations. That's like the secret in Buddhism. It's like the key to becoming free is having a different relationship to change. And so, I mean, I'm sure you don't really need me to point out the fact that the world around us is constantly in flux. We've definitely all seen that. But, if you look outside, the seasons are changing. The time of day is always changing. The societies that we live in are always shifting. Those norms and beliefs, like sometimes things are not acceptable, sometimes they are. Technology is always, it seems to be changing too. And so change is all around us all the time. It's one of these natural things. It's a fact of our life. But there's also this point in Buddhism, and they say that it's not just the world that's changing out there, it's also you too. This idea of no self, that you as well are always constantly shifting and changing. So we're not actually, all of these personality traits, these frameworks that we see the world through. We're not necessarily even our bodies. We're not the minds and the emotions that we have. These are just all fleeting things. They're called skandhas or aggregates of our experience. And even though we tend to associate, like even the voice inside of your head, you tend to say that that's me, but it's not, according to the Buddhists. And eventually, even if there's these qualities that you think that you've had for your whole life, you're like, yeah, I've had this body forever. This is me. I know this is me. Well, eventually one day we're all going to die. I know it sounds harsh to some people, but the Buddhists really do focus on this fact that we're mortal, and we, eventually this body too will change, and we'll have to let go of it. And so in focusing on death and on this ultimate teacher of impermanence, there's this idea, in Tibetan Buddhism at least is the perspective I'm familiar with, but there's this idea of the bardo, right? This in-between space after your life has ended, or after death. There's this in-between before your next life starts. So your old sense of reality has, it's dissolved. It's no longer here. It no longer exists. But the next reality hasn't quite started yet. And we're just sort of left in this open space. where there's no solid ground. We don't really know what we can hold on to. And they say it's very scary. There's this unsettling aspect because we're used to having something solid to hold on to. And these bardos, these in-between spaces, they're not just something that happen right after we die. In fact, there are little miniature deaths happening in our life all of the time, when old parts of reality dissolve away and we haven't quite come to the next phase yet. In fact, I think we're all sort of in this collective bardo right now. The world pre-pandemic is gone, and some of us still aren't really sure what's next, right? And so this in-between space, it can be awkward, and there can be this sense of tenderness or heartbrokenness and discomfort. But and it's interesting if you look back on maybe a situation in your life, maybe when something radical shifted, say like in my instance, like you just graduated, say, you go through a breakup or there's a death or you lose your job or something. And, we think our world is over because we can't quite see what's next yet. And there's this, we get desperate, to hold on to something. We try to go after the next job. We try to find, the new relationship. We try to find a new framework. Maybe we become a Buddhist. We try to go and hold on to something. Maybe we call all of our friends and family. We look for something permanent, something stable to grasp onto. But the Buddhists really challenge us to be able to sit in this open space and to be comfortable without solid ground. They ask us to sort of just be able to sit in this raw energy of the in-between. And this place is where we can really train ourselves and where we can really put our spiritual practice to use. And in this place, we can become more expansive, and we don't have to be so fixed, so finite. And we can be sort of limitless. We can take on whatever new quality we want to. And I'm sure you're sitting here saying okay, that sounds really nice, but this in-between place is really hard. And it definitely is, but this is what our practice is for. And the way that I sort of have looked at it is this 3-step process. Buddhists love lists. So the first part of this is just being this acceptance that the reality that we had, it changed. It's no longer here, right? And we don't have to look at this as being, necessarily a bad thing, even though it's often framed that way. But impermanence, it's just this natural law, the same way gravity is just a natural law. We don't, spend too much time being really upset over the fact that we can't fly. I mean, maybe some of us do, but we very quickly learn that it's not really going to serve us. And we're actually pretty well served being able to walk around on the ground and breathe down on earth and all of the rest. And we can actually start to see change this way as well, just as something sort of natural, things arise and things fall away. It doesn't always have to be so bad. So that's kind of the first step. And then the second part is just noticing, how does it feel? What is our habitual tendency? What do we want to do in this space? When our reality is taken away from us, what would we normally want to do? Do we get scared or anxious? Maybe we get angry, maybe we reach for the potato chips and turn on a Netflix series. We try to grasp onto something to help us feel stable. And it's good to just notice and take a step back and see what this response would be, right? From a place of compassion and just curiosity, just being gentle and noticing. And then the third part is where it gets really juicy. And this is the part where we get to just decide, okay, this is how I would act, but how do I want to act? What do I want to be? And what might I do differently? So in this sense, we get to, sort of respond to the change instead of reacting to it. We don't have to always fall back on those old patterns. And this is what they would call, in science terms, neuroplasticity, right? Where you observe what your habitual response would be. And instead of taking that route, you decide, oh, maybe I would be better off taking a different approach. Maybe I'd be better off doing something else. And this is where we get to choose if we're going to be something else. Maybe we want to be more fluid. Maybe we want to be more expansive, our sort of limitations can be more porous. We can have these identities that are more open-ended. And so I think that's the beauty of this place. And the reason why this neuroplastic sort of process is possible is what the Buddhists would call emptiness, right? It's the fact that you have an empty mind. In your mind, and what this means, I mean, it can get heady really fast when we start talking about emptiness, but the way that I like to look at it is just like, you know, your mind is constantly changing. So you can really, like, the sky's the limit. There's limitless potential here to be really anything that you want. There's just this open field of options and opportunities. And we walk around all day like we're these fixed, finite sort of people with these personalities and all of these characteristics, but really we don't have to be those things. Like, we could be something else. And you might be like, okay, well, what's the evidence or what's the proof that this is the case? And, you know, just so personally for myself, like, am I the same mind that I was when I was 5 years old? Am I all of those ways of relating to the world? Am I all of those feelings, emotions, etc.? Or am I the mind that I am now? I mean, I would probably argue that I'm not that 5-year-old Alex. I'm whoever I am now, but which mind is the correct mind? Is it, if it's the one I have right now, is it the one that, you know, drove here to the studio today, was super excited to teach this class? Or was it the mind that like 30 minutes prior was craving caffeine and was like maybe a little bit nervous? Like, which one is the right one? And like, the more we start looking at ourselves like this, the more that we realize that our self-concepts, they're not continuous. They're constantly changing in each moment. And so there's an opportunity there, right? To choose something different, to be something else. That's the beauty of change, right? There's an opportunity in it. So the question then really becomes, you know, who do you want to be? Especially in a year like 2020, like, who is the person that you want to show up as? Like, what do you want to stand for? I think that should really kind of be the focus of this session. So I'm going to guide us through a meditation where we can kind of explore this process of letting go of all of our layers and then maybe stepping into something new. So I hope that sounds exciting for you guys, because for me, it's a really fun practice. It's almost like playing dress up when I'm an adult. So I think it's kind of fun, and I hope you guys agree. So before we begin, let's just maybe let go of any restless energy. If you feel like you maybe want to turn your camera off because you don't want to look silly in front of other people, that's cool. But I'll encourage you to just sort of like shake all your limbs, let go of any energy, just sort of let it all be free. You can shake your legs, shake your arms. Good stuff. And then coming back, you can sit back down if you want. Let's just start to stretch out our neck. So maybe we bring our chin towards our chest, not really focusing on how awkward this feels for the chin, but more focusing on that openness in the back of the neck and the spine. Taking a deep exhale, and then as we inhale again, maybe bringing our head over to one side. So maybe, you know, left ear to left shoulder, feel the right side of the neck beginning to open up. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, coming back to center. We'll inhale, now going to the opposite side. So maybe right ear to right shoulder, feeling the left side of the neck beginning to open up. And then you can just sort of come back, just do some circles with the head at your own pace and in your own rhythm. Releasing any tension. And then you can come back to neutral. Let's bring our shoulders up by our ears and then drop them down. Let them go. Maybe do that a couple more times, bringing the shoulders up and dropping them back down. Send those shoulder blades all the way down the back. And now let's just do some arm stretches. So you can bring your hands out in front of you, bring them up above, maybe out to the side, reaching in opposite directions, feeling yourself be super expansive. And then maybe bringing your arms behind you, letting your heart shine forward and your collarbones smile. And then coming back, feel free to make any more shifts or adjustments, any more movements before we get still. And once you've done all of that and you're ready to find your meditation posture, I'll invite you to come into a cross-legged seat, or you can just be sitting in a chair with your feet down. You can even lie down if you want to, or stand up if you're tired. But wherever you arrive, let's strive to have a nice straight spine. Sitting up nice and tall if we're seated. So we really want to find that balance between ease and alertness. So we're nice and comfy, but we're also not going to fall asleep. And then when we make it here, let's just gently blink the eyes closed. Let the eyelids become heavy. And beginning slowly to relax all of the micro muscles in the face, relaxing the forehead and the cheeks. And unclenching the jaw. Maybe dropping the tongue away from the palate. Shoulders dropping away from the ears if you're sitting up. And then slowly we begin to invite relaxation into the body. So relaxing the neck and the shoulders and the upper back. Sending that relaxation all the way down your arms, through your elbows, to your wrists, to your fingertips. And then relaxing through the chest and the heart center, all the way down the abdomen, letting the belly become nice and soft. And then sending that softness all the way down through the hips, to the thighs, through the knees, shins and ankles, all the way to the soles of your feet. So we're relaxing from head to toe. And you can scan your body with your awareness one more time, see if there's any residual tension left over. Maybe there's some tenderness or soreness in one particular spot, and if there is, on your next exhale, see if you can just visualize that tension leaving your body, draining out onto the floor beneath you, letting it all go. And then we'll take a few deep cleansing breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Big sigh of relief. Another one just like that, in through the nose and out through the mouth. All right, just one more. In and out. Sinking a little bit deeper. And really just coming into your physical body, bringing all the tendrils of the mind back into our physical form. And we can come home to our bodies by bringing our awareness to our senses. So first, just noticing any sounds around you, maybe something in the next room or outside, and not really reaching after the sounds, just sort of letting them wash over you, letting them fall over your ears. My voice, the music. Just noticing any sounds. And then slowly working our way inward, bringing our awareness to our sense of touch. So noticing the sensation of the air against your skin, if it's hot or cold or just right. Maybe it's humid or dry. Maybe noticing the way that your clothing falls against your skin, the way that your body meets the seat beneath you. And allowing yourself just for a moment to feel held and supported by the earth, as well as by the air around you. Supported exactly where you are. And then again, coming back to the body and feeling the sensation of the breath. Watching your body breathe. And you don't have to control or manipulate it or change the breath. Just noticing this natural rhythm of taking in and sending out, receiving and letting go. So maybe feeling the gentle rise and fall of the abdomen, the expansion and contraction of the chest, maybe we notice as we exhale through the nose that gentle stream of air tickling our upper lip. And just sticking with the breath, watching this rhythm, taking in and letting go. Now maybe beginning to notice as we slow down the quality of your mind right now. What kind of thoughts are popping up in your head? And doing your best to not get too attached to these thoughts, not judging them or trying to chase them away. Just sitting back and observing. Like each thought is a cloud that passes by within the sky of our minds. And just watching, again, this pattern, this rhythm of thoughts arising and falling, of coming in and fading away, just like everything else in life. Now, as I tell you that we are about to begin the visualization part of the practice, maybe there's a sense of anticipation in the mind. Maybe there's a sense of vibrancy or eagerness. Now I will invite you to visualize that you are sitting by a body of water. So maybe you're sitting on the shore at the beach. Maybe you're sitting by a river or a stream. And just watching the water. If you're sitting on the shore, watching the way that the waves come in, crashing against the shore and then receding back out. Watching the stream or the current flow towards you like you're receiving it and then flowing away as we let it go. And watching how this rhythm of receiving and releasing is also here in the natural world. And watching the way that water in particular has this ability to adapt and shift and flow and change with grace and ease, always taking the path of least resistance. observing the water just for one more moment. And then we begin to shift our gaze, our mental view away from the water. I want you to visualize that as you sit here, you are sitting with yourself. So imagine yourself exactly as you are, sitting right in front of you, almost like you're looking in a mirror. So you see yourself, you're sitting there in your meditation posture, wearing the clothes that you're wearing, same facial expression, sitting in the same way. And just see yourself sitting here. Begin to notice if there's any roles or titles that this version of ourselves that we're looking at carries. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a student, maybe you work at a bank, or you work at a studio somewhere, or you work anywhere, any titles that you associate with this person that you're looking at, this version of yourself. And let's just imagine that we shed all of those titles. Whatever roles or jobs that we have, let's just set them into the water and let them float away for the rest of this meditation. We can pick them back up later. Let's just slowly let those go, not needing to identify with that any longer. And maybe there are also roles that we have, relationships that we have. Maybe we are a parent or a child, a brother, a sister, a friend, a partner. Whatever we are, whatever we see ourselves as being here, let's set those aside too and let the water carry them away just for the time being. We let all of that go too. Maybe this version of ourselves also has a very specific way of viewing the world. Maybe we are a Buddhist, maybe we are into yoga, maybe we are very optimistic, maybe we're liberal. All of these frameworks and beliefs and views that we have of viewing the world, let's just put those aside for right now too. Let go of those. Not to say that they're good or bad, but we'll pick them up later. And for right now, we don't need to have any of them. Maybe there are also feelings or emotions that this ourselves identify with. Maybe we're a happy person, an anxious person, depressed, whatever it is, whatever feelings and emotions we identify with, let's let the water carry those away too. We set those aside, let them drift away, letting all of that go. And as you sit here looking at yourself, noticing how even your body has changed over time. And we're not going to set this aside, but just notice that we could too let this drift away. Letting all of that go. Now, if there's anything else that this version of yourself holds onto that maybe doesn't serve us anymore, what would that thing be? What are we holding onto that we need to let go of? Whatever that thing is, let's let go of that too. Sending it into the water and letting it float away, even if just for the rest of this meditation. So now as you look at yourself, sitting here, held back by nothing, no labels, no titles, no need to be anything. Notice how maybe your posture has changed or your facial expressions have changed. Maybe there's a sense of lightness in the body, sense of openness in the mind, sense of relief. Watch yourself and just look at yourself in this totally open state. And now I want you to imagine that sitting in your lap, there is a box. And if there was one thing that you could reintroduce to this person, one thing that you want this version of yourself to embody and show up as, maybe it's an opportunity, maybe it's love or happiness or financial abundance, anything. What is the one thing that you would want yourself to be? And when you've got a good idea, I want you to put that thing in the box, sitting in your lap. And then visualize that you are handing this box to the you across from you. And watch yourself open up this box. And notice, how would you receive this thing that you want to be or want to have? Do you accept it with open arms? Or are you a little bit resistant? Do you have a hard time believing that you deserve it? Maybe it seems too good to be true. But remember, those are just beliefs, and we set all of those aside already. And in this open state, we can receive whatever this thing is. So I want you to watch yourself receiving it, getting exactly whatever it is that you want or need. Maybe there's a sense of excitement on your face. Maybe you sit up a little bit taller. Maybe you want to jump up and dance with joy. Just watch yourself in this state of receiving exactly what you need. Notice if there's any movements that maybe you make with your body. Maybe you take some type of action. Maybe you want to dance. Maybe you want to go somewhere. Maybe there's something you need to do now that you have this thing. What kind of movements would you make? What kind of actions would you take if you were to receive exactly what you need? And then notice, is there anything that you're saying? What kind of words are coming out of your mouth? Maybe you're expressing gratitude and thanks. Maybe you're telling somebody the news. Maybe you begin to speak your truth. Or maybe you're just silent, and that's okay too. Maybe it's just a silent sense of gratitude. But I want you to notice what kinds of things you would say if you received exactly what you want. And then we can begin to zoom out a little bit more and notice, where are we right now receiving this thing? Are we in a new apartment? Are we in a new city? Maybe in a new workplace? Maybe we're somewhere we've never even been before. Maybe we're somewhere in nature, someplace that we feel very safe. Let all of the details come to mind and just notice, where are you when you receive exactly what you need? And then zooming out even more now, I want you to notice if there's anybody with you. Notice, are there any other people, family members, friends, and which ones? Which family members, which friends? Different coworkers maybe people you've also never met. Or maybe you're all by yourself. Maybe when you receive what you need to be alone, and that's okay too. Taking a moment to notice who is with you when you receive exactly what you need. Now letting all of the details play out, taking into account all of the things that we just discussed, noticing what we're doing with our body, what we're wearing, how we're acting, how we're moving, what we're saying, kinds of actions we take, the place that we're in and the people that we're with. As much detail as possible. Watch the whole scene unfold. Watching yourself receive what you need in this world that you want to be in. And then slowly we begin to zoom back out. Let the scene fade away, the location, the people, until it's just you sitting in front of you again. Sitting face to face with this version of yourself that is embodying that one thing that you want to be or want to have. Notice their face, how they're sitting, what they look like. And then if you were to reach out your hand, notice that their body isn't actually solid. You can actually reach right through. It's almost as if they're a hologram. It's magic. And then begin to imagine that both versions of you begin to merge into one. So your body becomes their body, their cells become your cells, their mind becomes your mind, until it's just you. I mean, it's always been just you. And just notice how this version of you feels. Notice what you're thinking. Notice the kind of attitude that you have right now as you embody that quality or that thing that you want to become. How does it feel to be this version of yourself? I want you to really feel it in your whole being, as if we're already this person, because we can be. So take a moment, really soak it all in, breathing this version of ourselves in with every breath. Before we start to shift out of the meditation, I just want you to take a few more moments to reflect and observe what you would do today. Leaving this meditation session after yoga day, what kind of things would you do? What kinds of things would you say? Where would you go? Who would you be with if you were going to be this person in real life when you get off of your cushion today? What kind of things would you do differently? And this is the magic moment. This is the miracle right here where we get to make the choice to be something new if that's what we decide. And even though it might have been uncomfortable to let all of these things go that we were so attached to, this is your opportunity to be exactly what you want to be and show up as the person you want to show up as and stand for the things that you want to stand for. So once you've sort of got that solidified in your mind, you can really feel it at your own pace. Feel free to slowly start to invite movement back into the body. Maybe adjusting the shoulders, giving the neck a nice stretch again. And then slowly joining me back on the Zoom screen whenever you're ready. So this is a super fun practice. And I mean, sometimes I've heard that, it can be kind of hard to just pick one thing that you want to embody or be. But now that you sort of know the process, right, of just letting everything go and then picking something that you really want to become. So some days maybe you'll need to be really strong, or maybe some days compassion is really salient, or there's, some quality that you need to work on. And you can really do this anytime that you want, especially in those moments of change and of shift and transformation. There's a beautiful opportunity there, and change doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think going into this day, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be talking about impermanence. Nobody wants to hear this. We've all had to let go of a lot of stuff this year, and it hasn't always been fun, but there is a fun part to it. And there can be beauty in it. And I hope you guys were able to get a little taste of that today. And maybe you feel a little bit more confident in your ability to adapt. So if anybody has any questions or comments about the meditation, things that maybe stuck for you or landed well, or maybe things that didn't, I'm happy to stick around and chat about it, or any other questions at all. I'm happy to talk. So feel free to send them in the chat or unmute yourselves. I'll be around for as long as you guys need. Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much for your kind words. Yeah, it is empowering. It is an empowering practice. And it's nice to just be able to step into sometimes like our potential. Sometimes we forget and we feel so limited by the people that we are. And it doesn't always have to be that way. It just takes a shift in perspective. And sometimes it takes us being in community and sitting down and doing the practice and doing the work for us to really step into that and realize it. So, yeah.
It was just kind of like, oh, like that makes sense, like.
Emily, I think you're muted, and I really want to hear what you have to say.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I don't know why I can't.
We can hear you.
I can say it again if you want. It was just, it was like, oh, like, that idea didn't serve you. And that was kind of like breaking it down.
I still can't hear.
No.
Alex, in your audio settings, is your speakers like attached to something else in the bottom left corner?
I can hear you, Gavi. Maybe, Emily, can you try talking again? Maybe I fixed it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got it.
Hey, awesome. I was just saying that it was so empowering to kind of hear, at least from a student's perspective, like especially when, I feel like I'm in this in-between phase, and it's kind of, it makes it kind of unsettling, especially during this time. And it was very empowering to hear that, it's always been you, and you're looking at yourself, and you're not comparing yourself to anyone. You're not, you don't, all those it was very beautiful, and it kind of stuck in a way that was so easy. And I don't know, I was like, oh, like that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. I'm happy.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I felt the same way. I feel like I'm also personally, the reason I'm teaching this is because I've also felt myself being in this space. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of a shift to kind of see those different aspects of ourselves, right? Like it's just us, but we just need to tap into those different sides of ourselves. So yeah.
I have a question. Could you offer some tips for someone that isn't like very practiced with meditation, but is trying to become more so?
Yeah. First of all, just like committing yourself to doing short practices all the time is good. Just like getting into the rhythm of like showing up again and again, no matter how many times it takes, and like having the clear intention of like, okay, there's something here that I want to become and something I want to do, and then taking the time every day to like sort of step into that. And it doesn't always have to be a super long, elaborate practice that's like 30 minutes long or whatever. But it could be as simple as just waking up every morning with the intention that, hey, today I want to be happy, or hey, today I want to be really strong. And then trying to just think about that quality throughout your day. It can be really helpful. And like I said in the sort of in the start when I was giving like the little spiel, sometimes when we notice ourselves like in this space of being in between, it's helpful to just one, like acknowledge that we're here, acknowledge that the change happened, two, notice the way that like we want to habitually respond to it, how like what's our, you know, immediate feeling or emotion or response that comes out, and then just being able to sit back and observe that and practice not acting on it and maybe choosing something different. And obviously this is something that takes time, but you know, with practice it does become easier, and it's something that we can just sort of do on the spot. We don't always have to just sit down and do this in a formal meditation setting. So yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, well, more questions, welcome if anybody has them. And if not, I'm just gonna repeat one more time that where I am right now, this like beautiful studio space that I'm in is the Mindry. And we have a location in Malibu, but if you're not in the area and you wanna join us virtually, I put in the chat at the beginning of a session a promo code, and I'll put it one more time if anybody joined late. LMU40. So if you go to our website and try to book a class, you can use that discounted code and you get 40% off any of our virtual or in-studio classes. I do offer this type of meditation at the Mindry on Mondays. If it's something you'd like to practice with me again, I'd be really happy to see you around. Or even if you just want to pop on virtually, that'd be great too. I think that it's so nice to just sort of start to build community in times like this, and to get together in a group and sit down and try to meditate and talk about these things is very useful. So yeah, just an open invitation to you all. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Gabi, and everybody else, Chris, and everyone. I'm really grateful that you had me here. And I love what the program's doing. And it's such a special offering with so many other special teachers. And I feel very, very grateful to be here.